we have in Ruby. I first met Ruby as part of the National Party's women's group and as part of our candidates college. And I think what she has and what you will have experienced is that quiet grace, that strong humility that comes with someone who knows in themselves how much they have to offer, but doesn't need to shout about it from the rooftops because they get on and do it. And I see that in you, Ruby, and I really appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure for me this morning to talk to some of your friends here this morning and understand how much work you've done in this community already, how engaged you are, how connected you are, and what a contribution you've made and will make. So here's to an outstanding candidate. We are so proud of you. I think Ruby really represents what National is all about, which is that our values, which are values of personal responsibility, of rewarding effort and achievement, of valuing strong families, strong communities, of backing people to be aspirational for their own lives and to work for their own families and communities to advance themselves, are values that Ruby has really epitomised. And when I think about where the country is at as we stand here today, I know that there are a lot of New Zealanders who feel like their ability to pursue their aspirations or even to get through their daily life has really been compromised. Our economy is in very bad shape. The cost of living has become so high for so many that they simply can't keep up. That sense of a broken economy means many businesses are struggling, many employers are struggling, and many families are struggling, whether it's keeping up with their mortgage, where the interest rate's gone up a lot, or whether it's keeping up just this weekend, it'll be with the price of fuel, when filling up the tank's going to cost you $15 more. And I think people can see that what we need in order to strengthen the economy is not just band-aid solutions, you know. When it came to petrol, the solution was a short-term solution. The government put on a little short-term subsidy, when actually what was needed was to get to the underlying drivers of the inflation that's driven costs up across the economy. Actually, what has been needed is some adjustments so that people are paying less personal income tax. Actually, what's needed is business-friendly policies that encourage growth and get us through this recession. So we look at the state of the economy and we know it's creating a lot of hardship for a lot of people. We also see across our communities, and I know it's affected you here in West Auckland, that we have growing crime and disorder. And it's really concerning to not only see that escalating levels of violent crime, but to see how many of those perpetrating crime are either very young or are gang affiliated. Because I think there is a sense when you see that kind of crime occurring that these are not problems that are just occurring today, but they are problems that if we don't address are going to continue into New Zealand's future. So again, National's view on those growing issues is that we need to address them by being serious about our values. Actually, we have to restate that view that people are responsible for their actions, and where criminals victimise others, there does have to be serious consequences, because it's about sending a message about what we expect from each other in a good society, in a good community. And unfortunately, that message is not being heard by too many people at the moment. So we see problems with law and order. And then I think the next area that I get very concerned about is the fact that despite the fact we've had a government that has been spending a huge amount of money, to give you a sense of that, government spending is up 80% since Labor came to office. So that's about $1 billion more each week that they're spending. Or to think about it another way, it's about $30,000 for every household in New Zealand, more spending every year. And so you just have to ask yourself, when you look around the country, am I seeing the results of all of that extra spending? because we have taken on a lot of debt as a country to pay for that. Debt's gone from around $5.5 billion before COVID to more like 70 billion today. So we've got more than 10 times as much debt. And what do you have to show for it? Because when I came into West Auckland this morning, I didn't see that you've had some miraculous solutions for your traffic. When I look at the hospital waiting lists here in Auckland for elective surgery, those are longer than ever. People are waiting longer in emergency rooms. When I look inside schools today, well, first of all, too many classrooms are half empty because kids aren't turning up. But second of all, we're not seeing the increased achievement that we all hope to see in a progressing society. So our view, and national, is as a government, we need to get much more focused on delivering value for the money we spend. Because of course we need to invest more in the critical services in health and education and the police. That's a given. But it's not enough to just spend more. You actually have to deliver results for it. And our view is we need to go back to some old-fashioned principles and disciplines that many of you will apply in your own businesses. Setting targets, being clear about what those priorities are, holding people accountable for delivering to those targets, reporting on the results. But all of that has been on the back burner in recent years. Fortunately, we've found a leader, a man by the name of Chris Luxon, who's had quite a lot of experience in big international businesses at setting targets and driving results. And I really feel that that is what is needed for the country right now, because we are in a position where no matter who is in government, they are going to face a time where we need to strengthen our economy and get it back on track. So as I look to the future, I tell you, I am a bit worried about how much hardship there is across our communities. It is certainly obvious when you visit food banks, when you visit community organisations, that the effects of an economy that's got inflation still running really high, interest rates really running high, can be seen for many, many families. But I'm also confident, when I see it, that we have what it takes to fix it, because there are some simple things that we can do. And the first is this, and this is a philosophical belief that we share in the National Party. That is understanding that the people who will get us through difficult economic times are actually the people like those in this room. And what we need is for our businesses, our employers, our young entrepreneurs, our innovators to have the confidence, yes, I can invest more in this country, I can employ more people, I can pay them better, I can take on a new order, I can deliver a new product, and I can know that there are going to be the government policies and settings that are going to make that practical and make that possible. So we think it's very much time for a pro-growth, pro-business agenda, and that simply hasn't been the case in recent years. I think there has been too much of an attempt to divide people one against the other, rather than understanding we are in this together, and by building on each other's success, we can together go forward and deliver much better opportunities for everyone. Similarly, when it comes to law and order, we think restoring the idea that the police be given the tools to go after gangs, making sure that there are strong sentences from the courts when people are convicted of crimes, and ensuring also that we get stuck in a lot earlier in the lives of children whose lives are going off track by taking a social investment approach. In the health area, we want to set those health targets, but we also want to get the workforce back, because the reason you're all waiting so long if you need surgery at the hospital is partly because there aren't enough doctors and nurses, and that is making it very tricky. So we've said, well, let's be practical. First of all, let's be prepared to take nurses and doctors from overseas. But second, let's train more of our own. So we've announced a policy where if you train to be a nurse in New Zealand, we will help pay off your student loan, and we will pay off up to $4,500 each year you stay in New Zealand up to 5 years, because we can't afford to keep losing all of our great nurses to Australia. When it comes to education, we've said actually there's some basic things that our schools should be doing that unfortunately too many children are missing out on. So here's an idea. Every primary child should have an hour each day of reading, of writing, of maths. And it sounds very simple, but I can tell you I visit a lot of schools and that is not what each child is getting at the moment. And we want to make sure that when children are at school, their progress is being assessed and information about how they're doing is being passed on to their parents, and that the school is very aware of it. In education, we also want to ensure that we are setting those standards and that they are uniform standards across the country, because it shouldn't matter where you're born in New Zealand. We should have an equal expectation that you will learn, you will achieve, and you will be able to fulfil your potential. So we have lots of policy ideas about what's needed to get New Zealand back on track. But the thing that I will remind people of every day that we are campaigning in this election is that we can do a lot of things as a country, but it is only with a stronger economy that we will be able to deliver the lower cost of living, the higher incomes, and the quality public services that New Zealanders expect. And if we put our economy at risk, and if we take it for granted, we will have more of the underperformance we have all experienced in recent years. So I'm very proud to be part of a National Party team that is bringing that message to the country and that will be campaigning hard in this election. I think New Zealanders sense that we have a path with a fork in the road, and there are two different ways we can choose to go at this election. One way is to choose to continue down the road we have been on, and that road has led to a higher cost of living, to lower incomes, increasing crime, and lower rates of service. Or we can choose a different path that says, actually, let's back ourselves to be more successful. Let's choose the path of strong economic management, of lower taxation, of backing businesses, of driving for results. That's the path that National wants to take New Zealand down. And we will be able to do that because we've got an outstanding team with people like Ruby from all walks of life, from a great range of experiences that are coming together into our team. So I want to finish, Ruby, by acknowledging you and the work you'll do here in Kelston. It feels to me like you are someone who represents exactly what Parliament needs, which is someone who understands what life is really about, is connected to community, is connected to family, is connected to business. You represent National's values so well, so it's my honour to be here today, and I thank all of you for supporting this outstanding candidate and the promise she holds for the future of our country. Thank you.